Update for yesterday, February the 23rd. So I was at the store again yesterday as a bagger. Again, 7 to 4, second day in a row. Kind of reached the point in life where I'm getting a lot of normal people hour shifts. To my boss, Evan, thank you, sir. Appreciate ya. But yeah, I feel civilized for, and after many years of retail, that's not something I get to do very often. So, yeah, it's been a good role here recently. Anyway, so I was a bagger, ran a register for a couple hours, but primarily bagging. And overall, it was a good day. And if I have time, I'll come back to that a little bit later here. And but before we go any further with that, yeah, customer behavior, pretty good. After work, I went to the gym. Pretty good workout in today. Pretty with it, actually. And kind of interesting if I go into the gym around this time on a weekday, and this was around 4:30 when I was there. You're working out with a lot of high school athletes, which on one hand, I feel really old. On another hand, I'm actually relatively pleased with what I've accomplished, comparatively speaking. Obviously not going to be at the same caliber as like high school quarterbacks or whatever, but I'm actually quite impressed with what I'm doing here in my early 40s. So yeah, quite good. Anyway, that also being said, but yeah, definitely feel old. Definitely feel old, but worked out hard today and felt good afterwards. And then went and got some dinner, and it was so memorable that I can't even remember what the heck I went and got. Oh, that's right. So I lied. I did not go and get dinner after the gym, which is normally an autopilot kind of function for me. Instead, so years and years and years and years and years ago, when I got this apartment, back then it was optional whether or not you wanted to have a laundry machine and a dryer in your unit. And if you did, you had to pay something like you had to pay a certain amount. And back in those days, I'm like 23. I did not want to pay for that. I still don't have a washing machine. So I mentioned one time that I do work shirts and things in a little mini thing that I bought. Looks almost like a toilet, but it's not. And I do my work shirts and things in there. Also handles jeans if you do it carefully. But that being said, I will periodically go and do a full load, which is one of the many things I'm way, way, way behind on because of this whole situation with my parents. But I did that last night, and you know what I didn't do last night, though? Fold any of it. And so, here's going to be my new little game here, I think. Going to start a running calendar, running timer of how many days it takes for me to get dealt with. And we'll start the polling right now. Which will happen first? That mess of laundry being folded and put away, or the end of the school year? Stay tuned. All right. So that being said, as I'm looking for my little note cards here, when I go and do laundry, I go to one of several different little laundry places here. This time I went all the way out to the next town over. There's one of these places right on the Camas-Washougal line, if you're familiar with my area. That's kind of where I was. And there is a drive-through Mexican place right there. So put my laundry in, and while it's all taking care of itself, sit in my car and eat Mexican food and watch YouTube. And if that's not the most millennial sounding thing you've ever heard, God, my life. All right. Anyway, so with all that being said, the second half of this video, going to introduce a concept that is going to probably become a recurring theme here on these videos, but I'm really only going to explain it, I think, once or twice. And so that's going to make this particular video kind of almost required reading for understanding some of the other things I'm talking about in further episodes. All right, does that make sense? So, I've mentioned on a couple of occasions that I've ended up wasting time because I'm like working on little fictional projects, basically piddling around my phone and considering it and calling it something productive, basically. And so, um, at one point, years ago, I actually had, and this is 2018, 2019, right around there. I actually had a entire like fictional universe created, or that I made regarding a fictionalized retail environment. I'm going to put up a screenshot here. I still have, as a matter of fact, this website actually still up. You can actually still visit this and see stuff I was writing back in like 2019, if you're so curious. And anyway, and on that same topic, on that same idea, I have come up with a what I'm going to introduce now. And that is, I'm going to call this the Legend of Grubmyers. Grubmyers. Going to put that name up here on the screen so you can see how I'm spelling it. And so I'm going to try to introduce or explain this so that everybody can understand what I'm doing. All right. So the company that I work for the record, on here, on the internet, the company that I work for has never made a questionable decision, has never done anything wrong, has never done anything that you might even want to ask questions about. Always perfect. All right. Officially, for the record, on this podcast, TikTok cast, whatever this is called, always perfect. Got it? Now, there is another store. This is my fictional store, and my fictional retailer is called Grubmyers. And Grubmyers, on the other hand, you know, it has its moments. It has its moments where things happen. All right? And so, if that makes sense to you, you'll understand what I'm talking about here. All right, so, and with that, ready for your first Grubmyers story? I think you are. All right, so years ago, Grubmyers, they had a bit of an episode at one of their locations where you're probably all familiar with alcohol sting operations, and well, one of the locations of Grubmyers failed, like 3 of these within like a month. All right, and this caused the parent company to get fined. And it was like 8 digits. All right? 8 figures. So, at the location where this was involved, our hypothetical, completely fictional Grubmyers store came up with a new policy where if you were to purchase alcohol, you had to do it at the liquor counter. And that created situations where if you were using one of these online shopping services, the shopper would have to go and find your alcohol, find all the rest of your stuff, go back to the liquor counter, get their alcohol, go back to the front end checkout, and finalize the alcohol, then finalize everything else, and then finalize all the other transactions, and then go out the door. That's how it worked for a while. And since these shoppers are timed, some of this at our completely hypothetical store did not go very well. And yesterday, one of my coworkers brings this up, and I just go completely PTSD. Hypothetically, at our Grubmyers store, if you're catching my drift. And Rochelle, I apologize. Anyway, I'll tell you some more stories about Grubmyers as the day goes on, or as the time goes on. But for now, I'm out of time. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Ciao for now.